Welcome to another episode of Lunch with the Shark. Join us as we dive deep into discussions about business, accounting, and finance to help you build a business that thrives. Now sit back and have a bite with your host, the Shark CFO, Vidal Espinosa.
Good morning, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. I wanted to say hi. I am not the Shark CFO, Vidal, the Shark CFO Espinosa, but my name is Jeff Redondo, and I'm the managing partner of Invictus Advisors. So I wanted to say welcome to Guadalajara. Vidal did our first lunch with the Shark yesterday from our office, and if you hadn't, our office in Guadalajara, and if you haven't visited our Vidal's Facebook page or our Facebook page for Invictus Advisors yet, that's actually where we do a little tour of our Guadalajara office. So you can kind of check it out, see the precautions that we go through with COVID-19, and see the people that work in the office. So if you haven't had a chance to visit our Facebook page yesterday to check out our tour of our Guadalajara office, it would be great. So the reason why Vidal is not with us today is that he's actually attending a tax conference here in Mexico, so in Guadalajara. So they're talking about the tax regulations for 2021 in Mexico, and so he's actually learning a lot about the tax regulations so that he can help both our Mexican and U.S. clients do the best tax strategies that he possibly can. So that's why he's not with us today. But I'm hoping that I can give you some valuable information that you will be able to take away and apply it to your business. So as we were talking about yesterday, we were talking about raising capital. And this whole week it was about raising capital. And so we talked yesterday about how to raise capital through 3Fs, friends, families, and fools. And he brought on his two nephews and his niece to talk about how to raise capital. And on Friday, we're actually going to have them on pitching us their business plans so that we can invest in them. So it should be a fun episode. So that's something to look forward to on this Friday. So as I said, this week we're talking about raising capital. And one of the ways that you can do it is by finding investors, right? Most of us have seen the show Shark Tank. And that's what a pitch is about pitching or selling your idea to investors so that they can actually put some capital into your business. Now, a lot of times you have to know how you're going to present to these investors so that you can make sure that you get the maximum amount of money that you can, or they're just going to shoot you down. Like a lot of times that happens in Shark Tank. So we wanted today to give you the 5 key points that you need to explain to your investors so that you can make sure that you can get funding. Now, sometimes you're not going to get funding and sometimes you are. But these are the 5 critical pieces that you need to make sure that you have in every pitch, because otherwise, more than likely, they're not going to say yes. So, and if you don't, there's many more points to cover when you're doing a pitch, but these 5 are probably the most important. So I'm going to cover them one by one, talking to them a little bit about you, and then at the end, I'm going to give you the opportunity so that you can actually do a pitch for yourself, right? So the first one we have is you need to do an introduction. So you need to introduce yourself. Why are you involved in a certain business? So for example, let's say you have been brewing coffee your entire life. I say that because I'm sitting in Starbucks right now doing lunch with the Shark. But maybe you have been a barista all of your life and you want to create a new coffee filter, right? So you want to say, hi, my name is Jeff. I've been a barista at Starbucks for over 20 years, and I've realizing that the filtration system at Starbucks sucks. So I want to I created a new coffee filter that's different than any other coffee filter out there on the market, right? So you want to talk about, your expertise. You want to talk about why, in this case, you know so much about coffee. You want to explain about, why you developed, your new idea. So your coffee filter, right? So you want to give you as much information as you can so that they understand the background of your product and the background about you and why you got into the business, right? So you actually want to make a good impression on them, right? So you want to dress nice. You want to make sure that you're giving them the value that the respect that they need, and that you want to make sure that you show your personality, right? Because you always want to work with somebody that's fun and has energy and creates you lots of different uh, 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 gives you things that you can gives you feedback on your product and services. So number two, the second key point that you want to do when you're pitching to investors is addressing the problem, right? Um, so many people get stuck on this part because they don't know what problem they solve, right? You're like, oh, we actually had a client that was a cleaning company, right? So they're like, oh, our problem is that um, we use organic cleaners. Well, that's not a problem that people ought to have when they are cleaning their places. They want a clean place, right? So you want to make sure you address a problem in the marketplace and show evidence that this problem both exists and is in desperate need of solution. So for example, if you're going back to the coffee filter example, right? Let's say you've realized that you've went to 4 or 5 different coffee places and the coffee is horrible, right? And you've talked to other people and you've done your market research about different coffee places, and that you've realized that every one of the coffee places, the coffee tastes the same. Like it's the aroma of the coffee's gone. The the texture of the coffee doesn't feel good in your tongue, right? So you want to address each one of those problems with your coffee filter, right? You want to be like, hey, if we use my coffee filter, you're going to have a smoother taste on the coffee. If you use my coffee filter, you're going to be able to smell the aroma of the coffee better. If you use my coffee filter, you're going to not be able to throw as many coffee filters away because it's more better. So you're saving the environment. So you want to address the problem specifically around your product, so that when the investors are looking to you to invest, that they understand that they're supporting a that they're understanding the problem that they're helping fix, right? The third key point that you need to make sure that you have when you are talking to investors is that you want to outline solution, right? So outlining the solution to the problem that you just articulated is really important. But you want to make sure that you highlight the uniqueness of your product or service, right? So what this does is that you want to make sure that the uniqueness part of your product or service is really highlighted when you do the pitch. So for example, if let's say you are your coffee filters are made from bamboo, right? That's good for the environment, and they're renewable, right? So the solution is that it saves the environment. You don't have to go through so many coffee filters. It's good for the environment because you're using bamboo and you're saving trees. You're not using plastic because a lot of these coffee filters are made from plastic, right? So you want to really focus on the solution and why your product is different than everyone else's, right? Going back to the cleaning example, if you're um, if you're a cleaning crew and you're like, the only thing that makes me different is by using organic cleaning products, that's not going to fly. Everyone nowadays uses organic cleaning products. So you got to make sure that you are different than anyone else in using that cleaning company. So for example, you say, I use in for my cleaning company, we respond to you within 2-hour window. So if you call us and you need something cleaned, we're going to be there within 2 hours. Or let's say if you see if something happen if you have a spill happen at your at your company and you can't get the stain out, then we're going to replace your carpet. If we can't get the stain out, we're going to replace your carpet. So there's different solutions that you can use, right? And those solutions you need to express to the investors so that they can say, yeah, you know what, this is a different solution that I've never heard of, right? Uber Eats is a great example of a solution that was provided, right, for people that didn't want to drive somewhere and get food, right? They actually just ordered Uber Eats on the app, and they actually were able to just get food back from them. So that's really like a great solution for the problems that you're solving without people having to get up and get dressed and go, start their car and waste gas and all the different pieces that go along with that. Um, so your solution has to be very unique to be able to, for investors to be able to believe in it, right? The fourth point you want to talk about is your successes, right? So we talked about yesterday about friends, families, and fools to help you get money from for your company, right? Well, a lot of these successes do not depend on your friends, family, and fools. These are outside successes. So you can't go to an investor and be like, hey, I raised $100,000 from my friends and family, because that's really dependent on you and what dependent on what your relationship with them, right? You got to be able to say, hey, I raised $100,000 from outside investors, or I was able to get $100,000 loan from a bank because they believe in this product so much, or I was able to, develop a social media following around my product because people really like the social media aspect of my business. Or maybe you were able to create a Kickstarter campaign, and the Kickstarter campaign brought in like a ton of people to give you $5 um, donations for your or investments for your company, and you got like 100,000 people donating $5, right? You got to be able to show that you have some successes from your business. Maybe you went out and sold it. Maybe you went online and you opened up a website and people just flocked to your website because they thought it was great, right? You it The successes don't necessarily have to be monetarily, but they do have to be monetized. And what I mean by that is if you have $100,000, if you have 100,000 people on your email list, that may not necessarily show an actual income into the business. But what that does is that you can actually show that those people on your email list are interested enough in your product to sign up for your email list so that you can actually sell to them, right? So they don't you don't have to show monetary success. You have to show a way that you can actually have monetization in your business, right? So let the investor know that what stage that you're currently in and what achievements that you made along the way. This could be, maybe you've gotten some patents, right? Maybe you've gotten some partnerships, right? Maybe you've um, created purchase orders for different large companies that as soon as you get your products rolling out, they're going to actually be purchasing from you, right? So those are the successes that you can show, and those successes are important to people that are looking to invest in your company. If you've said I only have 3 sales, as an investor, I would not want to invest in your company if you only have 3 sales, because to me, what that shows is that the market is not interested in your product. So you really want to make sure that before you go asking people for additional funding, you can show success around your company, right? So the fifth most important thing when you go to talk to investors is financial projections. Now, Vidal would actually probably say the financial projections is probably the most important one of these 5 points when you're talking to investors. And I would probably agree with him, right? This is your chance to reinforce the story you've just told, right? So you reinforce the numbers, talk about how much money you've brought in, talk about how much investment you've already brought in, talk about how much you've invested into the company, talk about how much time you've brought into the company, right? Make sure you state how much capital you need to raise, because that is so important, right? If you don't ask them for an amount, how are they going to know how much to give you, right? And you need to explain to them what that equity state is in your company. So as an investor, they usually get a part of your company. So for example, let's say they give you $100,000 and they own 10% of your company. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the pros and cons about having investors in your company. So you want to make sure you tune into tomorrow, because sometimes maybe you don't want investors, right? But if you're looking for investors, you always usually give them some sort of equity in your company. So like, so for example, on Shark Tank, they'll talk about, I need $300,000 for a 30% stake in my company, right? So then they'll own 30% of your company, right? So you want to make sure that you explain to them how much capital you need and the equity stake, right? And like I said, tune in tomorrow to listen to the pros and cons about having investors, because it's really important for you to make the determination before you go to pitch your product, whether you want investors or not, right? The other essential information during your financials should be your pre-money and post-money evaluation. So with a business evaluation, you want to try to see if you can get an independent party to look at to see how much this is actually going to your business is valuated at. Sometimes startup businesses can be valued way more than they're actually money you've brought in, and vice versa. So you want to make sure that you take a hard look at your valuation. A lot of times, in Shark Tank, they talk about where the evaluation is really out of whack for the amount of money that you brought in. Well, you're not going to get any investors if you tell them the wrong evaluation of your money, right? Or if you overinflate the valuation of your business, because everyone thinks, oh my gosh, I'm going to have $1 million business. But until you reach $1 million, you will never have $1 million valuation, right? You also want to talk about your burn rate. And what your burn rate is the amount of money that you'll be going through every month when you're getting up and running. So for example, maybe you're just starting out and you need a website. Well, spending $5,000 on a website, right, is part of your burn rate, right? Because you're not bringing any money in. It's just money that's going out, right? So that's another thing you want to talk about with your investors, right? And you want to talk about how much of their investment is actually going to help you continue to grow your money, grow your company. So, for example, if you have $100,000, if you ask an investor for $100,000, how long will that $100,000 last before you come and ask them for more money, right? So you want to make sure that you have good financial projections. You really sit down with an accountant or somebody that knows about business, knows about accounting, knows about how to really position your company to actually get investments, to actually get investors on board, right? One of the final things that I really want you to remember is that all pitching opportunities are different. So sometimes they're really short. Sometimes you get a minute. Like at Shark Tank, it's quick. You're in and out, right? So you get 30 seconds and then they talk, right? Or sometimes you can have a 15-minute presentation and you can have slides and you can have, show them examples, right? So you want to make sure that when you're going in to pitch investors, you have to find out how many investors are going to be there. How long are you going to get? Do you have any? Will you have the opportunity to show a PowerPoint or not? Will you have the opportunities to hand out samples, right? And you want to practice your pitch to several different people before you actually do it live. So you want to practice it to friends, to families, to invest, to bankers, to maybe your colleagues, to maybe other businesses, so that you can get feedback from them, so that when you actually do your presentation live, you have that feedback and um, you're able to use that to help you grow your um, to grow your knowledge around pitching your investors, right? You want to keep practicing until that thing is perfect, right? You also, one of the things about a pitch is that you want to take it through a cycle of emotion, right? You want to be able to get them, you want to be able to really have them understand that this is important to you, and that they would be they would be missing out on a great opportunity if they don't invest with you. But the only way that you can do that is to make sure that you practice your pitch several times before you get up in front of them, right? You want to talk about these 5 points that I've mentioned today. You also want to talk about other things that I haven't mentioned today, right? So, but one of the ways that you could actually make it to be able to get some practice is by scheduling a call with Vidal, right? Vidal has been on several investment panels, and he's actually been able to he's actually invested lots of money into different businesses. And so if you're interested in practicing your pitch with Vidal, you can actually go and schedule a 15-minute consult with him at invictus-advisors.com/shark. You could sit down, pitch your product, he'll give you feedback, right? And then maybe if he's interested enough, he may invest in it. If not, then he can maybe give you some feedback on what you can do to actually pitch your investors, right? So he's really, he's not called the Shark CFO for nothing. He's going to give you the honest feedback, and those are the things that you're really going to need to make sure that you get investment for your business, right? So hopefully you guys had some great content today. I wanted to share, about Spotify, right? Spotify is a great place to hear previous episodes. This week we're talking about capital, raising capital, but we've talked about expanding your business. We've talked about tax strategies. We've talked about why it's important to open up an LLC. We've talked about how to protect your business. We've talked about all these different things in our past episodes of Lunch with the Shark. So, and one of the only places that you can get this is on Spotify, right? So it's really easy to subscribe to Spotify. And if I may quote the Shark CFO, Espinosa, Jesus, take the wheel and play the video. So first you want to open Spotify, and in the search bar at the top, you want to type in Lunch with the Shark. And you'll see Lunch with the Shark as the top result there. You want to click that link, right? And then what it will do is it will take you to our main landing page. Then click the follow button, right? And that will get you all the episodes on Spotify. And if you want to listen, you can actually just click the play button and start listening to past episodes of Lunch with the Shark. So make sure you do that. We also on all the other social media channels, like they said, we put exclusive content on Instagram. Yesterday we put a tour of our Guadalajara office on Facebook. So those are all we're on Twitter. We're on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to all of our social media channels. So since we're talking about Shark Tank, I wanted to make sure that we had a quote from one of the sharks from Shark Tank, which is Damon John. So today's quote from Damon John is, "If you can't come clean and tell investors how and why you failed, that raises a red flag. They need to see you learned from it and came back stronger," right? Because I believe, and I think Vidal believes the same thing, that if you're an investor, if you're a business owner and you failed, right, and you're asking for more money, but you've learned from your failure, and we would be open to giving you another chance as long as you learn from your failure, right? So once again, from Damon John of Shark Tank, if you can't come clean and tell investors how and why you failed, that raises a red flag. They need to see that you learned from it and came back stronger. So thank you guys so much for being with us on Lunch with the Shark today. Make sure if you want to get some feedback on your pitch to investors, you visit invictus-advisors.com/shark, and you can schedule a opportunity to talk with Vidal about pitching your pitching to investors. And if you are interested in actually getting some real concrete business advice from him, you can actually visit invictus-advisors.com/hot seat. And what that will do is that will give you the opportunity to go and book a call with him and have him live on Lunch with the Shark do your go over your business, and he will help you get strategy for your business. So if you are English speaker, you can visit, like it says right here, invictus-advisors.com/hot seat. Or if you're a Spanish speaker, you can actually visit this link, invictus-advisors.com convocatoria. Okay, I'm not a Spanish speaker, but Vidal will answer those questions, or Jesus will answer those questions. So you can actually visit either one of those links and have a hot seat with Vidal. We actually had a hot seat last Friday, and it was great. The business learned a lot of information from it. So once again, I hope you guys are all having a great Thanksgiving week, and we'll see you again tomorrow on location in Guadalajara. So have a great day, and ciao.
Thank you for listening to Lunch with the Shark. If you would like to set up a consultation with the Shark CFO, Vidal Espinosa, visit his website www.invictus-advisors.com, and don't forget to subscribe on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn.